Adam Taxin with Rabbi Avi Rubenfeld of Torah in 5, the Daily Call, and also Chabad of Chesterfield, which is in the western St. Louis suburbs in Missouri. And our topic, I know you have a lot to say, so we're going to get right to it, but our topic is Iran Nuke Capitulation and what Judaism says about self-preservation. Rabbi Rubenfeld, what should we know?
So, first and foremost, this was a monumental, as our Prime Minister in Israel pointed out, this was a mistake of proportion, of historical proportion. This is something that we need to know is going to affect us and many future generations. When something like that happens, and regardless, by the way, of which side of the aisle you are, this, according to everybody, was a monumental event, I believe is the word that everybody used, right?
Yeah, it's not, by the way, it's not like the Republicans did a whole lot to prevent this either when you get on the subject of side of the aisle, but go on.
And I mean side of the aisle, meaning to say even which country you're in,
right.
In that sense. But you're right. The point, however, is that this cannot be something that goes unnoticed. It can't be something which we don't all have an obligation to react to. Even if you think, who am I? I'm just a puny little nobody, and nobody has to know about me. If you are alive during this time, this affects you. And if it affects you, you need to know that there's something you can do about it as well. Now, I don't think this topic can really be dealt with in the framework of politics. Because as you mentioned, Torah puts an extreme importance on self-preservation.
It's in this week's reading, right?
That's correct. You gotta survive from the Torah. As a matter of fact, you have to recognize that it's your obligation to protect others from being harmed. So the reference you made, if you build a home and the roof of the home, you have access to the roof, and the roof of the home is a flat roof, you are obligated to put up a fence. And if you don't put up a fence and someone falls off the roof, their blood is on your hands. You're their murderer. As a result, you need to recognize that something of this scope, the real issue here is, and I think everybody, regardless of who they are, if they're being honest, has to recognize this is an issue of safety, of lives at stake. And therefore, you need to take into account when it comes to being something that the people's lives are at stake because of it, you need to ask people about this from that perspective. And if it's something which is a danger to life, the Torah not only encourages but obligates us to protect our life. If you know someone is going to kill you, you are obligated to kill them first. And that we call in Hebrew pikuach nefesh. And since this is a topic of pikuach nefesh, not of politics, not of preference, but clearly there is a state that's unabashedly stating that they want to wipe out those who don't believe and don't follow in their beliefs, this is a matter of life or death. Certainly for Israel, they've made that abundantly clear, and for the entire Western world, which does not ascribe to their beliefs. And therefore...
Hell, Saudi Arabia and Muslim countries are very threatened by this as well.
In their eyes, the Saudi Arabians are part of the Western world. They believe they're secular. So the important component here is to recognize this is not for politicians. This is for people who are experts in risk with regard to life. Those who are in the military, those who have the jurisdiction, the authority to be able to say, is this something which adds danger to the world, is putting people's lives at risk, or is this something which is not? Now, that's on a global scale of the correct people to be making this discussion and having this conversation. Individually, we can't let something like this go by. We are obligated to make sure that we are doing everything we can to increase protection for those we know. And I don't mean just physically, but I mean spiritually as well, that we need to make sure to do as many mitzvot and as many additional goodies, and checking our mezuzot and checking our tefillin, and those are the scrolls we put on the doors, and the scrolls we wrap around the phylacteries on our arm, and the Jewish women to light Shabbat candles, because those mitzvot in particular, but all mitzvot really, bring an extra measure of protection to all people. And the more light we add to the people, we will ultimately usher in the goal of all mitzvot, which is the coming of Mashiach, which will be world peace, believe it or not, which, incidentally, the darkest moment is always right before the crack of dawn. So what may seem like the biggest step back from tremendous movement, progress forward, is actually really probably the darkness that's right before the light.
All right, Rabbi Rubenfeld. Yeah. If people, even though this YouTube clip is a little shorter than some of our others, if they're still listening, there's a decent chance they like what you have to say. And can you just talk about your daily call, your Torah in 5, and also mention your website too, because there may be some Missourians on this too.
Sure. So chabadofchesterfield.com, CHABAD of Chesterfield.com, and actually on Chabad of Chesterfield in the calendar area, you'll see the details. We give 2 daily Torah calls. One is at 12:20 for 5 minutes. It's called the Torah in 5, 12:20 Central Time, by the way, 12:20 p.m. Central Time, which is 1:20 p.m. Eastern Time, or 10:20 a.m. Pacific Time. And those mountain timers will have to do.
No, it's 10:20 a.m. You said 12:20. 10:20 a.m. Pacific time.
10:20 Pacific, right. So what does that make it? 11:20 for the mountain timers. And then the evening is a 15-20 minute Chumash and Rashi, the Torah portion of the week lesson, and that is at 8:30 p.m. Central Time.
Yep.
And everybody's welcome to join us. And the call-in number is, well, actually, if you go online or you contact us, we'll add you to the reminder list, because if you don't get a reminder, it's such a short class, you'll probably forget, and you could send a request to add you to rabbiavi@gmail.com, or comment on Adam's YouTube video, and I'm sure he'll pass it along.
Yeah, but I'd rather save myself the trouble, so just contact Rabbi Rubenfeld directly. But it's a very worthwhile class, and I try to do it every day, at least once a day. All right, good Shabbos,
All right.
Rabbi.
Good Shabbos, keep well.